War Room, Georgia. With Antonio Jones.
All right, guys, it is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. And you guys are live inside of War Room, Georgia. I'm your host, Antonio Jones. We have an absolute packed show for you guys today. Some great guests, as always. A lot to talk about. That's probably why we got a lot of guests today. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit the notifications button so you guys know when it is that when we go live. All right, so today, guys, we're going to have, we've got a great lineup of guests. We're going to be talking about Sharia law, just a number of things, the glyphosate situation, some things going on up here in Gwinnett County. And we are bringing you guys the absolute best when it comes to subject matter expertise today. So I don't know if you guys watched the State of the Union last night. We did a live, me and Roy Hambrick, shout out to Small Town Underground, where we did a pre-show and then we did a little bit of commentary during. I think the president did a great job last night at communicating a few things, and he spent a whole lot of time paying tribute to others. And that's some of the best Trump that we can see. It just shows him in human form and, showing adoration for other people. And I think that's always excellent whenever a public official is able to do that. Now, we gave it to Trump a little hard in the beginning about some things that we want to see prosecutions when it comes to this Epstein thing. We see people getting arrested all over the world. America, if we're going to lead, we have to lead. And there's no getting around that. So I want to play a video because we don't have much time. Our first guest is in session, and we want to respect his time. So let us, and be able to give him as much time as we can. So let us play this quick video real quick, and then we'll get him in here. Take a look at this. All right, guys. So without any further ado, I want to get the senator who is responsible for Senate Bill 486. It is, I believe, and that's if I can get the transition right, and that's Senator Greg Dolezal. So, Greg, welcome back to the War Room. So, I wanted to bring you back because we'll play a little bit more of the testimony a little bit later in the show. We're going to have Tori Branum on here. She gave a great testimony. We watched it. And Susie Voyles also did a good job, and we may have missed some other testimony, but we thought that they did a good job at communicating why it's important for Senate Bill 486 to pass. So can you tell us a little bit about Senate Bill 486? I believe it passed out of committee, if I'm correct.
It did, Antonio. Passed out of committee 2 days ago. It was on the rules consideration calendar today. Did not get picked in rules, but that's a good sign that this bill will go to the floor very, very soon, hopefully just in a matter of days. And you're right, Tori crushed it, Susie crushed it. The bill ensures that American laws are the only laws that are used in American courts. And we've seen a number of attempts to inject foreign law, specifically Sharia law, into the courtroom in America. And we need to ensure that does not happen here in Georgia. But the second thing that it does is it prevents tribunals. And tribunals are something that we've seen, for example, the Islamic Tribunal outside of Dallas, Texas, that has attempted to essentially stand up a Sharia-only arbitration system, if you will. And we ensure in our bill that these arbitration systems cannot consider or adopt precedent set by foreign law if it violates the constitutional rights of any American citizen. So that is what we're looking to do in the bill. It's really simple. It did turn into an interesting fight in committee with CARE, the Center for American Islamic Relations, testified against the bill, as did a number of other private citizens. And Tori and Susie came alongside the bill, talked about why something like this is necessary. And I think we'll have it pass out of the Senate and hopefully to the floor of the House shortly thereafter.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Why is this? I mean, we see where people have a lot of concern of Sharia law spreading. We see like the praying in the. Are there any other stopgaps that'll be available to make sure that we're not taking over here? Because I think people are concerned. We saw where the Gwinnett County School Board sent out a special letter for Ramadan for kids to have a special area to pray in or something like that. We're not supposed to keep this stuff separate. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so going back to the stopgaps, you ultimately have the supremacy clause of the United States Constitution that American law should supersede any other law. And unfortunately in the courts, and it often happens in family court, and what you'll usually see is a custody fight or some sort of prenuptial agreement that originated in a foreign country. Then there's an attempt to inject that into a United States divorce court or a custody fight. That's kind of the most common places that we see it, but that's just the on-ramp. And we want to be sure that we shut the on-ramp off, because ultimately the extreme elements of Sharia that we see enacted in the countries that implement Sharia are not compatible with Western civilization, and they are not compatible with the United States Constitution. And so we want to ensure the equal protection of men and women in America. We want to ensure that we have the constitutional protections that are given to us in the United States Constitution, and that there's no foreign injection of any law that would come alongside in the courts. And then ultimately, frankly, we don't want to see that, obviously passed into law in any capacity in the state of Georgia. So that's what we're on watch for. That's what the bill does. And yeah, I mean, you look at some of these school systems, they're acutely aware of the needs of students who practice a particular faith, but then simultaneously
couple of seconds, give us your social media.
Greg, Dolezal for GA on X. You can see us this week. Antonio exposed the illegal voting coming from Raphael Warnock's church.
All right, appreciate it. We'll set up to have you back on, Greg. Get down and get some work done, man.
There you go.
All right, guys. So coming up next, we're going to have Tori Branum. She testified in that Senate bill committee hearing yesterday. Right after this.
It's part of our tradition that everybody can be an American, but there has been a common culture. Yeah, you don't have to belong to it, but there has been that. And
what is it? What is it?
Well, okay, you want to know what it is, number one? Okay.
Is there a bond? Is there a common culture?
I think, let me tell you a story. My junior year of college, I studied in Switzerland, and I used to get really annoyed when the French-Swiss professors I had would refer constantly to les pays anglo-saxons, the Anglo-Saxon countries, meaning England, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, okay, Canada. And I said, hey, my name is Scalia, and I'm as American as anybody. Look at this face. Is this an Anglo-Saxon face? I had never been in England, but at the end of my year, I went to England, and I felt at home. There is no doubt that American culture, American common culture, which nobody has to belong to, originates with English culture. And that includes Shakespeare, it includes nursery rhymes that we all know and that we use as examples. That's our common culture. And I think the framers recognized that. Diversity's fine, but diversity does not make a nation.
This is Lisa Neisler.
Well, this is Alex Johnson.
This is Amanda.
Hey, this is Amy Kramer.
And you're here watching War Room
with Antonio Jones. War Room. The people's voice. Keeping you informed. War Room. The people's voice.
All right, guys, we are back. We're totally jam-packed today. Got a great show lined up. That was Greg Dolezal, just laying it out. Senate Bill 486 did pass out of committee on yesterday. I think it's fantastic what they're working on as far as in regards to that bill. Make sure you light the phones up, show support, call your representatives, or whatever you need to do. All right, so next, our next guest, I'm going to play an open for her, and then we'll pull her in. You guys take a look at this.
A few days ago, I came across this 61,000 square foot Muslim dining and shopping facility that's being developed in Kennesaw. The real estate developer is Palestinian. His brother, who's doing all the legal paperwork, is also Palestinian. I watched some videos. They jokingly call it the Gaza Strip. All these videos have hidden innuendos in them of the community, aka Muslim community. Well, the brother attacked me pretty hard. I started digging more. I came across this other facility that they are trying to rezone for in Lilburn, which is 24,400 square feet, including 104 tenant properties. It went before the rezoning board in August 2025, and what it appears it was kicked back due to some legalities. That other people said it was the neighboring community that didn't want it. I'm not really sure, but what concerned me was the fact that the LLC's name was Taqwa. If you look that up, that's Sharia-based finance. That should be concerning to everyone.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
We are facing a spread of Islam. Texas is currently ground zero, and that's Marine Corps terminology for what could potentially be a civil war. If we don't look to them as an example of what can happen when you aren't paying attention, we will have problems we cannot fix. This legislation protects women, children, and vulnerable parties from being disadvantaged by foreign legal systems that do not recognize equal rights.
Motion do pass by Senator Hatches, second from Senator Bearden. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. It's 3. All those opposed? It is 3. The chair votes in favor of the motion, so the motion carries 4-3.
All right, guys. What you saw right there was, I want to say shocking, but there's a glimmer of hope at the same time. We want to play that video so that you guys can see what it looks, sounds, and feels like when these Islamic prayers are reverberating, right out in the public eye, and they're doing their calls, the prayer, and all of this other stuff. This is not American. This is a political ideology, and right now we need people to step up and thwart this. I'm just going to be honest. We need people to step up and thwart this. And now my next guest, you can follow her on X at Semper Female. That's Semper Female, and she is running for U.S. Congress, District 12. I think I messed that up last night. And that's Tori Branum. So Tori, you've been at the tip of the spear of many issues, but the videos that you've been dropping lately have been just incredible in how you put the facts and the receipts together to raise the alarm about the Islamification of America. So I wanted to bring you on and ask you, what's driving you? We saw your testimony, and guys, you got to go and see that testimony at full length. It was really good. She did a fantastic job on it. So I wanted to ask you, what's driving you to be so outspoken about this issue of the Islamification of America right now at this time?
Well, first, I want to tell you it's Tori for Georgia Congress on X. I had to change it.
Okay.
And second, I am not driving. I am riding because we are on the campaign trail and we are headed to our next destination. So what has driven me is, well, I'm a Marine veteran. And so obviously I have a little iron in the fire when it comes to the war on terror. I was on the rifle range during 9/11. I saw what happened to our country. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to go to war any day, and just sitting behind the TV for 2 days in my uniform, not knowing what was going to happen. And then I lost one of my battle buddies, was the first female to die in the war on terror. And then my friend lost her husband. So having lost something so close to me, I understand the ramifications of what radical Islam does. And so I'm a mom of 7 girls. And what really woke me up is, can you hear me okay?
Yes, that's perfect. Go ahead.
When Mom died, and I'm sorry, we're all out of sorts, but we're campaigning, and that's the most important thing. But, when I started seeing when Mom Donnie got elected in New York, and I thought, oh my gosh, if that can happen, it can happen anywhere. And I think that woke Texas up too, because they're ground zero. I mean, they have over 300 mosques in Plano and Fort Worth and Austin. And everybody's all of a sudden going, oh my gosh, we're in a war zone. And then I looked it up and I'm like, Georgia is 4th. And then I came across this facility, the 61,000 square foot Muslim and dining and shopping facility, where they were recruiting Muslim coffee shops. And they were kind of poking fun at the fact they had to rent a law office to someone they didn't want to rent to. And they were going to have combat spaces. And what really, really triggered me was when they said, we're going to call it the Gaza Strip. So I started looking, and there's 300 mosques in Atlanta. And then I dig a little further, and there's a 24,400 square foot project being proposed in Lilburn. And the brother of the Palestinian real estate developer who is building the 61,000 square foot facility called the Walk at Piedmont, aka Gaza Strip, is also the lawyer for the rezoning that they put paperwork in for Lilburn, which is 24,400 square feet. So I started connecting the dots. And I started studying even more, and I'm like, people are saying, oh, we've got the U.S. Constitution. Nothing can override that. Well, here's what happens. They're going to put a mosque here, and they put a mosque here, and they put a halal market here, and then a whole bunch of Muslim dining and shopping. And eventually they're the majority. And then they get elected, and then they start changing the laws. And don't think that can't happen, because even the Democrats, if they don't pass this bill, will be without a job, because we're seeing it firsthand, live and in color, in Michigan, where they have all Muslim city councils, and one of them just approved animal sacrifice. And then I started digging more in Atlanta, and the Gwinnett County Public Schools. That's one thing if you want to offer a prayer space for all religions, and you're going to serve fish on Friday, and you're going to serve this for that, and this, serve all religions. But when you do a flyer up saying there's Ramadan prayer times in the public library of the school, and you're sending meals home, things you've never done. We had teachers and coaches that are Christians that were fired in this country for praying on the football fields. And I am enraged about what's going on, and I will not be quiet about it. And I'll be honest with you, we can get to it when you want to get to it, unless you want me to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, the coaches were fired, and I believe that because a parent stood up, and maybe we'll have that clip for later, stood up in opposition and said, hey, wait a minute, there aren't any other religions being highlighted. This is anti-constitution, and why are we doing it for one group? It's the promotion of one group. And I think that's the whole idea behind this, Tori, is to actually promote this and seed it. And that parent picked up on it, and that's what she talked about during her speech at the school board meeting.
Well, it is, and it's part of the 100-year plan for the Muslim Brotherhood. And CARE, which is the Council on American and Islamic Relations, were found to be a co-conspirator in 2007. At that time, the FBI really should have deemed them to be a terrorist organization, but they didn't at the time. And so now we've got Florida and Texas. The governors have declared them terrorist organizations there. Well, I had them sitting, these terrorists, and I'm going to say it, because I can, sitting behind me in the Georgia State Senate when I'm testifying. And if you thought I looked like I might have been breathing heavy or shaky, I didn't even sit with my back to a room, much less terrorists behind me. And when they got up there to talk about Sharia law, it was all nice, and we'll invite you to our home to break bread, and we're charitable, and it was all good when they were giving testimony. But as soon as I roasted them, they were mad. They crossed their arms, they slumped in their seats, their faces were turning red. And then the woman proceeded to put a cell phone in my face and to follow me all the way out of the committee room, even though I had told her, please stop recording me. She was being belligerent and rude. And see, that's part of that Islamic culture is they're good until they're not. They are going to fake it until they make it. They're going to be nice to you until they don't get their way.
Isn't it part of Takia to where they actually lie to you just to kind of get their way, and once they reach critical mass, then they all of a sudden flip on you?
Oh yeah, mass, and you know, you saw that. You played a clip from New York City. They're like, Allah Akbar, we're taking over New York City, because Mamdani empowered them. He gave them this notion that they're superior now. They're going to take over New York City. I mean, we have a Muslim mayor of the second largest Jewish population in New York City outside of Israel. And we have a Muslim mayor who, if you want to tell me, you can't tell me for one dang minute that he doesn't have a motive, because it's just a week ago, he banned a Jewish drone company who's been there for ages, and he does influence the board, and he's banned them now. They're not allowed in New York City. And then another woman who has been a total antagonist goes on and makes an X post that, I'm so glad America is coming to Islam. Dogs should be outside. And that tripped Randy Fine's trigger. And he is actually trying to pass a Sharia law, like no dogs. No, if you pass a Sharia no dog type rule in your city, you'll lose federal funding. And that's what it's came to. And it's a slow process. It doesn't happen overnight. But it's the same thing going on in Iran, just like I referenced in my speech, my testimony that I gave before the Judicial Senate Committee. Iran was westernized. Their women could wear bikinis and they could wear dresses and they had jobs. And all of a sudden, overnight, the Islamic regime took over in 1979, and that was because their parents didn't do what they needed to do at the time, which is what I want to prevent. And now over 15,000 Iranian women have died because they want to be able to dance. They want to be able to sing. I can't imagine. I'm 47, so I've got a little time left on the earth. But in 20, 30 years, it is not unreasonable to think that our precious daughters would not be living under Sharia law.
Right.
And when I talked about that bill, I said, listen, it costs you nothing to pass it, but it could cost you everything not to.
Yeah, that stood out to me as well. So after the break, we're getting ready to go to a break in a few seconds here. You had a message for liberal women, I believe, regarding the ushering in of all of these kind of crazy things that's kind of like assisting Islam, the tolerance and so forth and so on. So after the break, I want to bring you back and then we'll wrap it up. And I want people to hear what your message were for white, particular liberal women right after this. All right, so more from Tori Branum right after this and Sharia law.
Let's stand up. We gotta win.
Hey guys, Rich Geary here from Geary Farms. Here at Geary Farms, we believe in raising our beef the right way, naturally and sustainably. Our cattle roam freely on nutrition-rich pastures, enjoying a diet that's as pure as the land that they graze on. We treat our animals with care and respect, ensuring they live stress-free lives. It's our commitment to quality and transparency from our farm to your table. Thanks.
Accelerate your business goals and brand presence on the World Wide Web by logging on to safewayhost.store to purchase domain names, web hosting, email hosting, SSL, and more. We have 24/7 customer service and support available to our clients. Get started today so you can achieve your business goals by increasing your web presence. Log on to safewayhost.store today. That's safewayhost.store.
Hey everybody, this is Roy Hambrick from Small Town Underground.
This is Colton Moore, and you're watching War Room with Antonio Jones.
taking on the establishment head on. It's War Room Georgia with Antonio Jones.
All right, guys, it is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026, live inside of War Room Georgia. I'm your host, Antonio Jones. Got an absolute packed show for you guys today. We got some of the best people, the best of the best, to bring you guys information so we can get out here and make a difference. So before the break, our last guest, and bringing her back in, was talking about the Islamification of America and the impacts of it. And right up here in Gwinnett County, in the school system, they sent out a special flyer to have for Ramadan and the special prayer spaces, and we're going to pack your lunch and let you take it home with you and everything. And one parent stood up and said, wait a minute, we don't pick special groups. What about the separation between church and state? You know, all of a sudden that thing goes out of the window. And when you pick a group, you just bring attention to that group, and it promotes them. And I believe that's what's at the heart of this whole thing is the promotion of it, because you see the Islamification of America, you know, happening right now before our very eyes. And this all comes on the back of multiculturalism. But I won't get into that because I'm kind of ranting right now. All right, so let me bring her back in. So, Tori, before the break, I saw something in one of your videos, and you had a message particularly for liberal women. And what's that message to liberal women that you have?
Well, I have so many, Antonio, but, you know, they're virtue signaling, and they just want everybody to, they're so naive about it, but they shave their heads, and but they shaved their head when Trump got elected, and they swore off men. You know, I just wonder, I mean, maybe they'll be okay with it, but when you go up to Washington, D.C., and you dress like a Handmaid's Tale costume, and you act like, you know, you're doing it because women are oppressed and they're losing their body autonomy. But what you're really doing is you're signifying exactly what you're promoting when you act like Sharia is never going to happen. So if you look at those Handmaid's Tale costumes, it's actually talking about Sharia and, you know, covering your head and your body. So basically they're trying to use that for saying we don't have choices over our body, but what they're really doing is those costumes represent the very thing that they're sitting here going, I can't wait to go to their coffee shops, and I can't wait we love them, they're so kind. And the thing is, like I said, you can't separate the wheat from the tare with these people because they're so deceiving. So they cannot fit into the Western world. It goes against the Quran. There are experts out there that people can look at. And I mean, it is what it is. And I'm never going to change my mind about it. Ever.
Got it. So we know you're on the road campaigning, so we don't want to keep you for long. Tell people how to follow your social media, Tori. And you've had so many groundbreaking posts that just spreading all over. Wall Street Apes, so many big accounts sharing your content. And we appreciate the work that you're doing. Tell people how to follow you and get in touch with you and contribute to your campaign.
Okay, so I'm a co-host on here, and I don't know if that came up, but it's Firearms Trainer Marine Tori Branum. There's 400,000 followers there. Tori for Georgia Congress. I'm fairly new on X, thanks to Wall Street Apes and Eric Daughtry and some other influencers. I'm starting to gain some traction there because I really want to kind of cross-post, and I want everybody to receive the message. I just want to let y'all know I'm not driving. My campaign manager is driving. And then I'm Tori Branum, straight Tori Branum, all one word on TikTok. That has 100,000 followers. And I'm Pretty Well Armed, all one word on Instagram. You can donate at www.tori4georgia.com, all spelled out. My main thing right now is we've been boots on the ground since August. We really need to raise money for our media. I don't need help with social media, obviously, but I'm up against a fifth-term Republican incumbent, and we need people that have skin in the game to represent this country right now because there is so much going on. And if I get elected, I'll be the first woman Marine in Congress. They've never seen anybody like me. I can tell you that. I'll work every day 24/7 because time is of the essence with everything that's going on.
All right. We appreciate you stopping by, Tori. And at some point, Tori is going to host the final segment of the show. We'll figure out when that is. We know she's very busy right now with her campaign to be able to bring you guys more information and great content. Make sure you guys follow her on X at Semperfi Female. We appreciate it, Tori. And tell your campaign manager to keep driving you around safe.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Tori. We'll see you.
Okay, bye.
All right, guys. Make sure you follow Tori Branum. She's out here doing some great work with the information that she's bringing forth. I mean, it's just been fantastic. And a lot of times, you're only like one post away. And I know this probably wasn't her goal to go viral with certain stuff, but she's just putting the information out there, guys, that people want to hear. All right, make sure you guys share this show. I'm trying to get my next guest teed up here. And I first saw her on actually friends on Facebook. And then I noticed she's a part of Moms for Liberty, some other great causes, just, doing some great work. And what I like to classify is the fight for freedom out here and liberty. And whenever we see people that are doing that work, we reach out to them. We just want to get their thoughts and opinions, agree, disagree, or whatever, because, one of the things that we have that's on our side of the football is we are free thinkers. And sometimes we can kind of do tug of wars and all of that. So without any further ado, let me introduce her properly. She's a New York, Jersey chair of Moms for Liberty, a leading advocate for parental rights and medical freedom, a survivor of abuse within the boarding school system. And she brings a powerful personal perspective with her activism, focusing on protecting children, empowering parents to reclaim their authority in education and healthcare decisions. So let me bring her in now. All right, so Alexandra, welcome to the War Room. First time on.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
All right. Well, great. So,
although I feel like I've been here before because I watch your page too. So.
All right. Okay, so let's jump right into it. I want to read a tweet that I saw from. Let me backtrack. So I saw some of your concerns about glyphosate in the foods and everything like that, and I was thinking, wow, she should be a great someone to come on. And I know that you're a contributor to Newsmax. You've been on Fox News and different little outlets, not little outlets, but big outlets. So I thought to reach out to you, and I'm so glad you came on. So let me read a tweet from attorney Tom Renz. He is a pro-America patriot attorney. Maybe you've heard of him. And he said, for anyone failing to understand the executive order and effective immunity, it is important to note that by calling glyphosate a national security concern and stating that the Secretary of Ag should ensure they do not, quote, endanger the corporate viability, unquote, of glyphosate producers, the administration is providing new defenses and demonstrating that the DOJ will continue to fight against liability for people sickened by these poisons. So I just wanted to get your perspective. I know that I believe you said that you were part of the Maha Moms and everything like that. So what are your thoughts or what information that do you have when it comes to glyphosate, where things stand with the liability and everything like that with the impacts on health?
For sure. Well, first of all, we've seen a rise in, allergies with people, and oftentimes they'll call it a gluten allergy because, they're starting to see they don't have celiac disease, but they're having a lot of the same symptoms of celiac disease. And so, they'll get tested and the doctor will say, oh, well, you're not celiac, but yeah, you kind of have these symptoms. So you're gluten intolerant, for instance. But we've found out that it's not gluten. It's the glyphosate that they are putting in everything. And, basically what it's doing, if people are unsure of what's exactly happening inside of your body, is it's creating sort of like holes in your gut, if you would. And instead of having, just the good bacteria, now you're having absolutely basically no good bacteria, and things are escaping into your body. So now you're having maybe rashes, you're having, some IBS, bloating, you can't eat certain foods, you'll feel exhausted. And these are just some of the small things that happen, right? And over time, it gets worse and worse and worse. And if you actually try to take it out of your, like I'm, for instance, gluten-free, right? So I went through this myself. where I was exhausted if I would eat like, a sandwich, and not that you're eating it that often, but even just like one time, it would feel like you took a sleeping pill. It would just like hit you like a wall, and I would say, wow, I feel like I just can't have this. And sort of lucky for me, I ended up having an infection. I had to go to the doctors, and I went through this whole thing where they said, hey, I think you might be celiac. Let's send you for the testing. And so I personally went through this. And the same thing happened. They said, you're not celiac, but, we're going to, test your blood and things like that. And the wheat was sort of off the charts. The dairy was sort of off the charts as well. And we found out that it wasn't the wheat, it was the glyphosate in the wheat. And pretty much anywhere that you go to eat these days, or any loaf of bread that you buy or pasta, is going to have that. And not just a little amount. When they test it, the amount is like, it's insane, and so the body can't handle it at this little amount. So now imagine, it's like a bomb blows up in your body, and now you have brain fog and like all these other things that are happening. So it's poison. It's literal poison. And, we do understand why they use it. A lot of times when they're doing certain crops, little like critters will get in and eat things before they're able to do it. But farmers have been doing it forever. They are able to do it. We just need to support the small local farmers instead of, the 3 or 4 big ones that are dominating everything.
Right. So
there's a way to do it.
Right. So the big ag is one of the main parts of the problem, is what you're saying. Well, another thing we found was, this glyphosate is linked to cancer, liver, kidney disorders, respiratory, neurological, infertility. We've seen a big rise in infertility in our population. And something's got to be done about this. So...
Well, they're attacking you from every which way.
Yeah.
We're not going to just say it's glyphosate. Let's be honest. They're spraying the skies. There's all kinds of stuff in the vaccines, metals that were added to the vaccines many years ago. Why do we have so much Alzheimer's these days? Why can nobody remember anything, even in their 20s? Cleaning products have things in them, fragrances, perfume, skincare. They literally are attacking you from every single angle. So unfortunately it's not just that, but I think the Maha.
10 seconds. Go ahead, 10 seconds.
The Maha is just mad. You know why they're mad? Because they were promised that this would be taken away, and now it seems like they're protecting it and calling it like national security.
All right, hold it.
So that's why they're pissed.
All right, guys. So we're gonna have more from Alexandra about why
Hyundai's sprawling auto plant is about as cutting edge as it gets. More than 1,000 robots work alongside almost 1,500 humans, hoisting, stamping, and welding in robotic unison. This may look like the factory of the future, but we found the future of the future in the parts warehouse, tucked away in the back corner, getting ready for work. Meet Atlas, a 5'9", 200-pound AI-powered humanoid created by Boston Dynamics. The rise of the robots is science fiction no more.
I have to say, every time I see it, you just can't believe what my eyes are seeing. Is this the first time Atlas has been out of the lab?
This is the first time Atlas has been out of the lab doing real work.
Zach Jakowski heads Atlas Development. He has 2 mechanical engineering degrees from MIT and a mission to turn the robot into a productive worker on the factory floor. We watched as Atlas practiced sorting roof racks for the assembly line without human help.
So he's working autonomously.
Correct.
You're down here to see how Atlas works in the field.
Yep.
And you'll be showing Atlas off to your bosses at Hyundai?
Yeah.
You feel like a proud papa?
I feel like a
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you would like to make a contribution, the link is in the description.
War Room. The people's voice. Keeping you informed. War Room. The people's voice.
All right, guys, it is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026, and you are live inside of War Room, Georgia. I'm your host, Antonio Jones. Told you guys we had a great show for you lined up today. A lot of great guests, as always. All right, so before the break, we were having a discussion with Alexandra Bougher, I think I'm saying that right, about glyphosate and the Maha moms and the Maha movement. So, and just what her thoughts was, and the kind of different diseases and things and illnesses it's causing. It's linked to cancer, liver disease, infertility. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So let me bring her back in, because she was kind of starting to hit on something that I was going to ask her. You know, what are the Maha moms thinking right now? You know, we voted in overwhelming numbers for the president. We support the president. But this seems to be like a little backtrack to protect the corporation with glyphosate. And we see several others, even the Surgeon General down in Florida, saying, hey, don't go for it. What they're telling you right now, there are different alternatives other than spraying our food with glyphosate in order to be able to farm and get enough food to feed the population.
Well, that is correct. There are lots of different options. You know, basically what they're trying to say is that the EPA did not classify it a carcinogenic product, but we know, we can't believe any of these people. They've been saying things for a long time. They also pushed the COVID vaccine. It's safe and effective. You know, you can't get COVID if you get the COVID vaccine. I mean, I think as a nation now know to not blindly trust anything that's being told to us, sold to us. And, you know, the Maha community for a very long time has been, you know, told to be quiet, or you're crazy and you don't know what you're talking about. And we've been proven right time and time and time again. Just like with, you know, the fact that they can give you a vaccine and they're immune from, you know, they have immunity. Now they also want to have immunity as well for the glyphosate. Yet it's been proven that it's poison. It's been proven that there are safer ways to do this. So I love President Trump. Okay, I voted for him all the time. You know, if I had to do it again today, I would vote for him. I think the one thing that he could be better with is to be transparent and talk to us about why he makes these decisions. There's got to be a reason why. Listen, he's a chess player. He does things. He has access to information that we don't know about. And so there may be something that we're not seeing, and that's why he had to do it. But explain it to us.
Yeah.
Because we know in Europe, for instance, they're doing it, right? Or even products that they have in both places. I'm going to use junk food for an example. Doritos, Skittles, like it's junk food in either place, right? But here it's got 25 ingredients and there it has like 5. So we know that they have the formula, the recipe to do it. We know that they're able to do it. So it's not like, okay, we're going to give them 3 years to figure this out. Guys, they have the information already. Okay, it's already been a year. So at this point, you guys should have it together where you're able to, you know, maybe not overnight. I can understand not giving them 5 days and saying, hey, you have 5 days to stop this completely. But let's have a reasonable date and explain it to us. And I think the people would be much happier and understanding, because at this point, it feels like a slap in the face.
Got it. All right. So last question. I would be remiss if I did not ask you this, since being a Maha mom and in Moms for Liberty. All right. So the Epstein files. All right, we see people getting arrested all over the world, and we're supposed to be leading the world and this, that, and the third, the superpower. What are your thoughts with at this point? We haven't seen any high-level arrest from our government.
I'm extremely disappointed and upset about it. Again, I don't know if they're just putting all their eggs in one place to make sure that, you know, it's a slam dunk of an arrest. I mean, that's the only thing that I can think of. We've seen the files. They are horrifying. I've told people to turn the sound off if they watch some of these things, especially as a mother, to hear some of that. You don't sleep well. As a nation, we're supposed to protect children. Yeah.
Do we have a country if we don't get down to the bottom of the Epstein files?
No, I don't think so. No, if I really think if they don't hold people accountable, there's going to be a very big problem in our country.
Got it. All right, so tell people how to follow you, Alexandra, and
Sure.
We'll set up to have you back on. We like your reporting, the information and everything, and plus you Moms for Liberty. We've had Tina on a couple of times. Shout out to Tina Descovit and the whole team over at Moms for Liberty. Tell people how to follow you right now.
Yeah, great. So momsforliberty.org, and you could just go to the map and pick your state and your county. If you don't have a chapter in your county, pick the one closest to you, or you can start a chapter. And for myself, it's Alexandra Bougher, and you can look at Facebook, Instagram, X. I'm on all the socials. So if you just plug my name in there, you will find it. If you need any help, please reach out. I can help you with religious exemptions, medical exemptions, advice, things like that. And my biggest advice is don't ever be forced to do anything that you don't want to do. If in your gut it doesn't feel good, go with that gut. Do research before you do anything, especially to your kids.
Thank you for hanging out with us, Alexandra.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, guys, make sure you guys follow her. Shout out to Moms for Liberty, the whole crew over there. And speaking of Moms for Liberty, we're going to have another member of Moms for Liberty. But before I bring her in, I want to play a video real quick. You guys take a look at this.
Georgia's Parents' Bill of Rights, OCGA Section 20-2-5 is clear. Parents retain the primary right to direct their child's education and participation in school activities. Expressive rights do not grant permission to cause disruption, misclass, and in loco parentis does not allow schools to waive parental consent or compulsory attendance requirements. That decision belongs to parents, not schools. GCPS, schools that allowed participation without enforcing attendance rules or consequences, created an implicit policy, and that policy conflicts with Georgia law.
There was some very graphic material, I believe that you said, a program that's being piloted to second graders. Can you tell us, go back over that content so that the audience is aware of what's being presented to second graders?
Sure. It was in the Health Smart curriculum that they were looking at, and it's back on the table this year. But for the second graders, there was a slide that said a girl's vagina can stretch to accommodate a penis during sex. So it's not appropriate for a second grader. Georgia's parents.
All right, guys. All right, so I want to get ready to bring our guest in, but let me say this before I bring her on. The Gwinnett County School Board, by large, is disgraceful up underneath the leadership. It is disgraceful. Why in the world would we even pilot a program with this type of material in it? Why do we need special areas for Ramadan and all this other stuff? Well, wait, what happened to separation of the church and the state and the special accommodations? And they put a flyer out, in the middle of all this to say, to make this look okay. It's not okay. What you do for one, you do for all. And that's not the case here. So let me bring in our next guest. I just want to get her thoughts and observations. So welcome to the War Room, Philana. You're a part of Moms for Liberty. You're part of a great Facebook group, Gwinnett County Parents for Quality Education. Shout out to Holly Tori and everybody that makes that group possible and makes it go around, and everybody that showed up at any school board meeting or any type of meeting regarding the quality of life and protecting children here in Gwinnett County. So I want to ask you, Philana, the walkout. I know you had things to say about the walkout, and Therese Johnson, she didn't participate in the school walkout and ICE protest, but she and Adrian Simmons, there are pictures of them out on the internet where they participated in a ICE walkout. I mean, not walkout, but a protest.
Right.
So with everything we see unfolding with the students, are the public officials following the law and policies to the letter, to the T, from what you see when it comes to walkout and, maybe religious things?
Yeah, likely not. I'm still waiting on open records request on that. I'm on my third request for information. I don't think that they are giving me all of the pieces. There is supposedly an email where Therese Johnson did support the walkouts. It does appear that she was at the Berkmar walkout with her son, video recording it, when the school said that no adults were present. How else would she have photos and video of her son participating in the walkout? So I don't think that they're being forthcoming on really what happened with those walkouts. And I do think that there were adults supporting those students, organizing them with the school principals behind the scenes to get those organized and done, during the school days.
So what is the law? Maybe you don't know the call letter because you don't have it in front of you, but there is law when it comes to parents giving permission for children to be out of class. You kind of went through that. Can you go over a little bit of that for us, Philana?
Yeah. It's the parent right law that was passed in 2022. Basically, really, the only line that's important that governs all of that is line 19, which is the parents directing the fundamental right to the upbringing of their child. Basically, they need permission from us for the student to waive class instruction time. They didn't get that when the students were organizing the walkouts. So all the walkouts were premeditated. There was flyers all over social media that they were going to happen on a certain day, and they were days ahead of time. And the principals met with these students to find a time and a safe space to meet, to organize these walkouts. So there was no evidence of any parental permission before the students worked with the principals and put these flyers out to that time. Students weren't checked for permission. They were just allowed to walk out. So if there's any parents out there that didn't want their student to participate, students weren't checked when they were walked out. They just were allowed to leave the building. So, and they say, well, they just walked out. There's nothing we could do. Well, in part, that's true. Kids leave the buildings all the time, but you knew about it. You knew that was happening at that time of day. And
does this not put this taxpayer, first of all, the child at risk? We saw where a child was hit by a car that was a part of some type of a walkout at a school.
There was actually 2 incidences like that.
Okay, does this not put also the taxpayer on the hook because this is, they're not following the instructions of the laws that are in Georgia? Does this not put the taxpayer at risk for a lawsuit potentially as well?
They do. And then what they did also was they pulled resources away. So I know in cases where in the initial walkouts, they were blocking the streets. So Gwinnett County Police told them, you need more police officers on the scenes to make sure they don't step in the streets because they were impeding traffic. So then they pulled school resource officers to monitor and all the available staff away from the school building. So for the students who participated, they didn't have any extra eyes on them. So we just paid millions of dollars for extra security. So students who didn't participate didn't get security, but the students who did the walkout did. And then middle schools and such didn't have any security because those resource officers were pulled to monitor the students walking out. Wow.
All right, so I want to ask you about something else. There was another part in the opening video about the Health Smart curriculum and when it comes to sex ed. So what happened the other night as far as the passing, I guess, of the new curriculum for kids to follow? Can you just give us a run through? We got probably about 2 minutes before the break.
Okay. The thing I went to the work session. The whole thing, they totally changed the whole way the pilot worked. So they really did it underhandedly. Basically they only surveyed the parents and the teachers that were involved in the pilot, and there were only 30 schools. So they told us in the last 2 times that the sample size of the surveys didn't represent Gwinnett. Well, this time it really didn't represent Gwinnett because it was only the samples of those 30 schools who had the pilot. They only did the pilot for 3 weeks. It wasn't long enough. They didn't pilot the comprehensive sex ed. They piloted the abstinence only. It was a very, we also don't know who the committee members were. We don't know how they chose the school. I know Mill Creek cluster wasn't represented, and Mill Creek has a high number of opt-outs. So that's probably why. So they really did it very poorly and very underhandedly to get the result that they wanted. They wanted Health Smart to be chosen, so they rigged the results to get what they wanted.
And give us 20 seconds of why there's a problem with Health Smart. Or your concern.
Health Smart's is comprehensive sex ed, so it goes into details, more details than young children need to know, and it can be a comprehensive program. So right now it's only 5th through 9th grade, but they do have comprehensive sex ed that goes from kindergarten to 12th grade. So eventually they can expand it if they really wanted to. Right now it's only 5th through 9th, however. Okay. It goes into gender ideologies. It goes into, sexual identities, things like that really can go against parents,
right?
Sincerely held beliefs. And they're not going to be forthcoming. The other problems they're advocating that there's going to be choices.
Hold on for 1 second. We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to talk more about this sex ed in Gwinnett.
I think I found the real reason George Soros is still allowed to operate freely inside the United States while he's been kicked out or heavily restricted in Russia, Hungary, Turkey, Pakistan, Poland, the Philippines, and a half dozen other countries. The answer is simple, and it's hiding in plain sight. George Soros has probably been one of the CIA's most valuable private assets for over 40 years. He's the civilian deniable billion-dollar funding arm of American regime change operations worldwide. That's why no attorney general, no Congress, and no president has ever seriously moved to shut him down here. He's not just allowed in America, he's protected. This is why both George and Alex are so arrogant. If you've seen my video on color revolutions, you already know the script. Soros bankrolled this prototype in Serbia in 2000, refined it in Georgia in 2003, Ukraine in 2004, and the Arab Spring in 2011. The same USAID, NED, and Open Society Foundation's logos appear in every single one. The Arab Spring was the trial run for Europe's migrant crisis. In 2011, the CIA and Soros turned that playbook on Libya and Syria. Gaddafi warned the West in March of 2011 that if you take him out, millions would flood Europe from Africa. 8 months later, he was dead, and Libya was chaos, and the migrant waves began exactly as he had predicted. By 2015-2016, battle-hardened jihadists and economic migrants were streaming across the Mediterranean with iPhones, prepaid cards, and Twitter guides written in Arabic, the same social media mobilization tactics used in Kyiv and Tahrir Square. Wayne Madsen called it straight in 2015. This was a deliberate Soros CIA social engineering operation to fracture Europe from within. Same playbook, new target. And now we have America, 2020 to present. Remember the 2020 summer riots? Soros Open Societies Foundations gave at least $33 million to the groups that organized and sustained them. How about the Southern Border Caravans? Soros-backed NGOs provided the lawyers, the maps, and the logistics. How about defund the police and DAs in every major city? Soros money elected them. They're running the color revolution playbook on us now. Only this time, the target isn't Belgrade.
Taking on the establishment head on. It's War Room Georgia with Antonio Jones.
All right, guys. Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. You're live inside of War Room Georgia. Make sure you guys share the podcast for us. And before the break, we were talking with a Moms for Liberty, another great Moms for Liberty member, Philana Nowak, about some of the things that are going on in Gwinnett County. Now, what you saw during the break, that was Kylie. She's on X, Defender of the Republic, a great breakdown on the color revolution. And I would go as far as to say the things that you see happening even up in Gwinnett County has George Soros's fingerprints on them. They've used the population to addict people on this socialist idea, to massage the idea of the government paying for everything. And it also built in the same infrastructure that she talks about as far as this Islamification process. And it's just not Islam. There are people coming here from all different countries, from all over the world. But the infrastructure that they come in and pillage off of, that we pay for with our tax money, was set forth by all of these social programs. All right, so let me bring Philana back in. Okay, Philana, before the break, you were talking about some of the problems and issues with the Health Smart curriculum and how it went too far into the weeds and too descriptive of different things to describe from a sexual standpoint. And you were saying there was one particular cluster that did not have a lot of representation. A lot of those parents opt out. So what I want to ask you is, do you think it would be better if parents actually had to opt in rather than to opt out of something like sex ed?
I mean, that's going to be the better way to do it, yes, because the opt-out is going to be a mess. What they voted on Thursday was a choice. Health Smart gives two options. There is an abstinence-based curriculum and there is a comprehensive sex ed-based version. So they never do anything transparently or, in the open. So like for this current survey that's out there right now, you have to go through multiple screens to opt your child out of doing that survey. Well, who knows how they're going to do which choice do you want for your child to do the sex ed? So an opt-in would be a better option, but they'd have to make it available and on front and center or on paper or something to, for parents to really have to return to them, because otherwise there's no recourse if they give your child the wrong material.
Right. So
there's no, and I'm sorry, it's not going to be sufficient in this case.
Yeah.
If your child gets the wrong material.
That's right.
So they don't do anything well. They don't.
Okay. So as it stands right now, if you don't opt out, then your child automatically goes into one of those programs. That's how
it'll probably be comprehensive sex ed as a default.
Okay.
Is going to be my guess.
So maybe we can get the legislature to get dialed in on this situation and make it to where, in order to offer something that has to do with sex, I really think this conversation should be happening at home with parents. That's my personal view on it, and let the parents stay in control of when and how this process plays out. So just teach math, reading, art, history, and the like. But this may be something we need to talk to some legislators about, because this is not that hard. Let's just get a law passed to say anything having to do with sexual education or any materials associated with it, they would have to have a permission slip from the parent to say, to opt in that this is okay. Do you think that would be a better option?
Because then the opt-in would force the school system to justify the purchase. That would be the way to do it. They would have to show what the teaching is, what the curriculum is. They would have to show what they're going to be teaching.
So best case scenario, the school system probably need to get that permission slip signed ahead of time for what they want to do. And then They can't say, oh, well, we don't have enough time. No, if your kid is coming up and for this particular thing, we need to make sure that we have enough interest in this particular program to actually purchase it. And see, that's going to throw all kind of roadblocks. I think that legislatively, we can deal with this. I don't think this is that hard.
That's always something that I have, on that particular curriculum, that's always something that I have advocated for, and there's always been such a pushback on it. The other thing that would help is curriculum transparency, where they would have to put the curriculum online for parents to view whenever, you know, at their leisure. That's another thing that they push back on. They don't want you to see what they're teaching, especially the supplemental materials, because that's usually where they get all the trash in.
Okay. Can you put something together for me, a brief, and let me see if I can talk to some legislators. I don't know if we can get movement on it this session, because we're like maybe getting
this session will be hard.
So,
that is something as Moms for Liberty that we will be working on over the summer for next session. Definitely that's on our list, is curriculum transparency, probably the opt-in, and a few other, like strengthening the parental rights bill is another thing that we're looking at. You know, because the walkouts really showed some weaknesses in that one, because they're trampling on it. They're not acting on it because.
Got it. All right. Well, let's talk offline about it, and let me see what I can do to help you all possibly get some of this stuff move forward, because it's from what it sounds like, it just makes sense to move forward. Tell people how to follow you, and thank you for hanging out with us today, Philana.
Thanks for having me.
Tell the people how to follow you.
I'm sorry?
Tell people your Facebook page and how to follow you.
We are Moms for Liberty, Gwinnett County, I believe.
And that's fine.
We also have a Moms for Liberty, Georgia. We have two.
Okay. All right, got it. And we'll get it up on the link so people better find it.
Moms for Liberty, Georgia, and Moms for Liberty, Gwinnett County.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. All right, guys. Wow. So much great information. We have some of the best people that have been keeping up with these issues and standing in the gap. And it is so great to have moms, dads, just everyday people dialed in to the issues, because those are going to be the people that help us make a difference and really get it done. President Trump has a lot on his plate, and we're here to make sure that, you know, we get loud when we think things may not be going, maybe it's fast enough, or maybe sometimes how they should go. That's our role. And there's a time to cheer, have pom-poms, but I would argue that we probably need to have a coach's whistle and a coaching outfit on more than we do the cheerleading. It's just because it's not because we don't want to celebrate the victories that we have, but because we want to make sure that we win. That's what all this boils down to. All right, so before I bring my next guest in, I want to play a short clip for you. So you guys take a look at this.
Well, Gwinnett County Schools in Georgia decided to put out a flyer to make Ramadan accommodations for Muslim students, even stating what times the prayer was. And they're also packaging special meals for Muslim children to take home. Well, a Jewish mom had something to say about that, because they're not serving fish on Fridays, at least not the menu that I looked at. And if you're going to accommodate, you need to accommodate everyone and not single out a specific religion. That's where it becomes unconstitutional. You can listen to what she has to say, and I'll put the flyer right here.
While I come from a Jewish and Arab family and do value diversity, this accommodation represents a departure from the separation of church and state for three main reasons. One, the risk of government endorsement. When a public school uses its official channels to email info about one specific faith, it moves from education into promotion, while governments must remain neutral. Distribution of those material can be perceived endorsing one religion belief over others.
Look, they think we're fools. Did you hear what the parent said? She said, when you single out a group and they get special privileges and permission, it appears that you're promoting this particular group. And it's my opinion that that's exactly what is happening. Just think about, this is the same diversity, equity, and inclusion crowd singling out one group. So what would be the next question? Well, why is that? Why is one group being singled out? Let me get my next guest in here. She's a huge election integrity advocate, and she's been putting up some stuff about the Islamification of America. You can follow her on X at HM Kesler. That's HM Kesler on X. So let me get her in here now. All right, so Holly, welcome back to War Room. When I saw these videos floating around the internet that had been going viral with Tori Branum, she's doing some great work in citizen journalism. First person I thought about was you, because you have been leading the charge when it comes to bringing forth the issue of the Islamification of America and talking about why this is a huge problem. But what are your thoughts and reactions to that video and what that parent was saying about what went on when they wanted to have a special room and, hey, if you don't eat your lunch during this time, we're going to pack it up and let you send it home with you. What are your thoughts and reactions when you see that?
I think it's infuriating. And just to say, yeah, Tori Branum, she's running, I think, in 12th Congressional District. And she started speaking out a lot about it a lot. We need more people, big voices, big platforms to start talking about it. So I'm grateful for that. Her and I have been communicating. This mom, she's been very outspoken about it. She's providing a lot of documentation, a lot of feedback on things that are going on. There are people out there in these communities. It's predominantly in Gwinnett, what we're seeing right now, but really and truly it's all over the state. It's just really loud. They're really loud and really brazen in Gwinnett County. And that's where we're starting to see most of it, but it's in multiple counties in Georgia. It's happening. She's right. They're doing the special halal food, things for them. They're allowing them to have certain places to go and pray. I've even seen some videos where there's a Islamist group that is organizing. They're actually making little tubs. So instead of little baskets, they're like the little, rectangular tubs. And they're packing them with the prayer mats and, the head covers and, all of that and making tons of them and taking them to the school and handing them out. And this is wrong. There's 70 other countries you can go and do this in. Don't do it in America. And so I have a real problem with that. And the thing is, too, is, it's important for people to understand. I keep hearing, well, we let them, they have their religious freedom. Let them do what they want to do. Well, I'm all good with that. First of all, I'm all good with people, doing whatever they want to do. I would like to bring everybody over to Christ and be saved by Jesus, but I'm not here to judge and intersect in what they do behind closed doors. That is their prerogative. But at the same time, when you're out and brazenly doing it in the open, and you're trying to push this on Americans, on our children, that's a huge thing. Leave our kids alone. And you're interfering in their public school education, then that is a really big issue. That's a really big problem for me. And, they are very clearly working to take over America. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it happen all over the United States. Another thing that's important to understand is that Islam is actually a political ideology. There is a religious component to it, but they are a political ideology, and that's where Sharia law comes in. And Sharia law is absolutely not compatible with the United States Constitution. And so it's a shame that we're having to argue these things and having to go through what we're going through right now. But America's got to wake up, Antonio. They've got to wake up. It is here. It is fast approaching it. I've been screaming it for a while. Other people like Amy Meck of the Rare Foundation, they've been screaming it for years. But people are starting to wake up and see this is a real situation. So why is this even considered a quote unquote religion in our country? Because, I see videos of imams saying, hey, these other groups need to be eradicated, and very radical, violent sounding actions that they're giving up under the guise of Islam. Should this not be hard, not that difficult to just say, hey,
this is not a religion. Okay, you can be a Muslim person in your personal capacity, but under these circumstances, I can start something tomorrow and then turn around and say it's a religion and say, hey, let's wipe out all Hispanic people. I don't want to wipe out Hispanic people. I'm just using that as an example.
Right. Yeah.
So what's the big problem with getting this done, you think, Holly?
Well, I think that they have gotten so good at using our own laws, our own constitution, religious liberties, using those rights against us, and that people have been uneducated. I mean, I hit it head first. It was like I ran into a brick wall when we discovered what happened in Cobb County, and then started doing the research and publishing the dossiers on it. I was like, wow, this is really bad. And I read and read. I mean, there was so much education that had to be done, and catching up to speed to really understand, what it's all about. And then talking to people too, I've spoken to many Muslims who have point blank laid it out on the line for me. So this isn't just coming, they call you racist and Islamophobe and, all the things. No, it's not that at all. I mean, the Muslims will tell you what the reality of Islamification is. And it's not bad. So to answer your question directly, I think it's education. I think there is a lot of education that has to be done, and very quickly, especially to our legislators and our law enforcement officers. A lot of them are seeing the issues and seeing the problems. I know that when I was escorted out of the Madison Forum event in Cobb County back in August, I was escorted by Cobb County deputies to make sure that I got back to my vehicle safely and back out of the Atlanta area, Cobb County, Atlanta area safely. And they told me when when I was getting in my vehicle that they were very glad that I was speaking out about it, and they told me to keep going. They're limited in what they can do, but they see the issue. They see an issue and they see a problem. And these are law enforcement officers saying this. And so I think there's a lot of people that realize there is a problem. It's, what's going on. I don't know that they know how to address it. And that's where it's going to take, people like you and me talking about it, Tori getting out there, Amy Meck. Of course, John Guandolo has been talking about it for years. He was specialist in counterterrorism with the FBI. And so there's a lot of really good people that are out there, screaming to the rooftops, because we're getting ready to be, look at New York right now. And you've even got some lower income areas that are coming out now saying, Mandami, you lied to us, and that's what they do. It's takia, and people need to study that and recognize that as well. They've been takia'd, and that's where they're allowed to lie to you for the sake of Islam.
Yeah. And I believe I think everybody should, follow Jesus. That's my personal opinion. But we live in America, and we have what's called religious freedom. And if somebody wants to stand outside and pray to a tree or, worship a rock, I think that should, can be their prerogative. But at the point where you start calling for violence against other people, our country has to draw the line. So what would if you was talking to a legislator, what would be like a best case scenario, a place to get started and a finishing point too as well when it comes to dealing with this particular issue? And then maybe we can clip this and put it out too as well.
Well, I think for our legislators, the first thing that's going to need to happen is people are going to have to start researching the Muslim Brotherhood. They lay it out on the line. CARE does a pretty good job of it too, but the Muslim Brotherhood and Jamaat-e-Islami, a lot of people do not bring up Jamaat-e-Islami, but that is the foundation. That is the basis for all of these organizations, the Muslim Brotherhood, CARE, ICNA, all of these things. It's Jamaat-e-Islami and Maududi, who is the founder. You can go and read Maududi's teachings. And they talk about the grassroots playbook and how they move in and how they take over. The Muslim Brotherhood has a big write-up on it as well. So I think that's the first thing for people wanting to talk to their legislators is they need to become educated. There are tons of videos out there. I've got publications out there that you can pull information from. But there's lots of videos. So educate yourself on it. Yashir Cardi, he's one of my favorite guys. But I've published videos on him, and I'll have to pull it back up and post it again, maybe pin it to my profile on X. But he actually literally says we're going to take over America through ballots, not bullets. And, and that's pretty scary because you do see some scary rhetoric. But when you realize that they are organized, they are coordinated and orchestrating this in a way that they are trying to avoid violence and do it through the ballot box, then it really starts to make sense as you see the infiltration of all the candidates. And so I think it's really just a part of educating yourself first, approaching the subject with your legislature and tell them your concerns. Tell them that you're concerned about it. Ask if if they're aware of what's going on in certain areas, and ask them for feedback as well on what you can do. Because I know sometimes legislators have different ideas, different opinions. Dolezal did just drop a bill. That was one that Tori, was up there speaking about. So he did drop that. So he's a really good resource as a legislature. But in order to get our legislature moving, it's going to take the American people and the citizens of the state to get educated on this topic, understand what's going on, what's happening in our school system, what's happening in our local communities, and then approach it that way.
Got it. So where can people go to find more information, and if you have a Substack and other resources? I know you put out a lot of great stuff on your X. Guys, make sure you follow her at X, HM Kesler, HM Kesler. Do you have any other websites?
It's actually Holly. It's at Holly Kesler now.
Okay, you changed it.
Yeah, so it's just my name, so it makes it easy and consistent.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll have to get that updated because we had it as HM Kesler. We go ahead.
Yes, and we have a website too. It's called Counter Dawa, so counter like a counter, and DAWAH.com. So that's all of our reports are on there. There's good information on there. Rare Foundation is really good. Amy Meck, if you're not following her, and she is Amy Meck, or you can go to the Rare Foundation. She has a ton of reports and a ton of information out. And I do have a Substack too. It's new, so there's not really a lot on there. But I put stuff out on X and Facebook all the time about it.
Okay. Make sure you send us, text us your Substack, because we do aggregate a lot of Georgia Patriot news on warroomga.com. There's a Georgia news section, and we're trying to we got a lot of great writers already in there, but as you post things, they will populate on our page, and we want to make sure, if we can, try to get people coming to one place to be able to still get to all of the Patriot Substack writers. So make sure you send us that when you get it.
Yeah, I sure will. I just made a note for myself so I don't forget.
Okay. All right. We appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us today, and always for the great reporting and information that you bring.
Yeah. Thank you, Antonio.
Okay. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, make sure you follow Holly. So how we've got it titled is incorrect. So it's at Holly Kesler. That's Kesler at Holly Kesler. Make sure you guys follow her. All right. All right. So why are we spending time on this subject? It's because I really feel in my heart of hearts that this is the army and the muscle for the New World Order. And they're just being used. If you go back to like the civil rights movements and all these big socialist things that happened in the infrastructure that we have currently, that they're coming in here pillaging off of, like they're doing up in Minnesota. The social programs built the infrastructure for what we see happening now. Now they're just coming in, getting their piece of the fraud, because that's basically what it is. We're taking the American taxpayers' money, and we're just passing it out to whoever wants to come into the country illegally. That's not good. It's not good for America at all. All right, guys, make sure you guys share this broadcast. That's one of the biggest things that you guys can do to help us out, because we try to platform people who want to get in the fight, make a difference for pro-Constitution, pro-America things. Because it all boils down to what's the future going to be like for our country. Our founders came here at a very young age, sacrificed a whole life, they pledged their life in sacred honor for us to be able to have a sovereign nation, and it's worth defending. So having said that, my next guest, let me do a proper introduction, is running for U.S. Congress to replace Barry Loudermilk. So let me go through a little bit through his bio. We'll get him in here and we'll have a little bit of time to spend, talk about what his plans are. And we have questions lined up for him as well. So our next guest stands firmly against the corruption and corrosion of Washington, D.C. They believe in voting according to the Constitution, and they aspire to be your voice, a representative that you can trust and take pride in, ensuring that your concerns resonate loudly. Boy, do we need that nowadays. This next guest has a servant's heart and a deep love for this country, and they believe that Georgia deserves better, who treat public service as a patriotic duty and not a political career. It's time to put the country over self, restore trust in our institutions, and honor the values that make America strong. He's also a member of the John Birch Society, and that guest is Chris Mora. So we have about 2.5 minutes before the break, Chris, but welcome to War Room. I know we had you scheduled to come on before, and we just had a scheduling conflict. You had to go up to Washington and take care of some business, and we're glad that you were able to come back and spend time with us. So welcome.
I appreciate you having me.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so we got a couple minutes. So before we got two minutes and 5 seconds. So you're a member of the John Birch Society. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I got to know the new as the president and CEO of the John Birch Society, Wayne Mora. I used to have him come and actually speak to our local GOP to do training. And he was incredible. People loved having him as a guest, and quite honestly, they have some absolutely incredible training. They have some really cool tools on their website that do scorecards on how our elected officials score in regards to when they vote on bills that are constitutional. They've been great. They've been great and very supportive. And yeah, I'm a proud member of the John Birch Society.
Fantastic. So you would say that it's foundational to people that want to follow the Constitution.
Yes, absolutely.
That particular organization. Wow,
absolutely.
That's fantastic. And yeah, I saw I guess the new president of the John Birch Society several times on the Alex Jones show, and he's always had a lot of great information. Just a wealth of knowledge.
Yes, they're doing some really good things. He's actually brought some really good things and some changes to the John Birch Society. So, yes.
Well, that's good. So, I guess we have a couple of seconds left. So, I guess after the break, we're going to get into, where you're from, what brought you into politics just in general. Get you to talk just a little bit about the State of the Union address, and we're going to spend some time today and talk about your campaign and everything like that. So we're looking forward to it. All right, guys. So we're going to get ready to take a quick break, and we've got Chris Mora. He is running for U.S. Congress to replace Barry Loudermilk, and we got some great questions lined up for him. So you guys make sure you stick around.
I would love to bring this to Ratburger office.
Room number 214, right around the corner.
All he did is bad decision, bad word, rig people's vote, and now he wants to run for governor. Who wants him? Can you imagine what he's going to do to this country?
There was a guy here some time back that showed up with a tabulator tape, and on the tabulator tape, it said that the people in the precincts were swearing to a Canadian law on the tabulator tapes, and he's standing right here. And he came from Hall County.
Not one legislator knew that we were going through a Canadian authority on every tabulator tape for 4 years, and then you showed Raffensperger and explained it to him, and he goes, "Oh, we'll have to check into that." You can't make this stuff up.
What did Gabriel Sterling say?
Talking about on your show is your allegation that government officials are aiding in pedophilia, child trafficking, and the grooming of children, right?
Well, you mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons?
This is Lisa Neisler.
Well, this is Alex Johnson.
This is Amanda. Hey, this is Amy Kramer.
And you're here watching War Room
with Antonio Jones.
War Room. The people's voice. Keeping you informed. War Room. The people's voice.
All right, guys, it is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. And you are live inside of War Room, Georgia. I'm your host, Antonio Jones. Told you guys we had a pretty packed show today. Great guests as always. And if you guys haven't figured it out yet, the show is really about the guest, you know, and me learning things from the people that I bring on, because I have a lot of great private conversations offline with people. So the idea behind War Room is just, let's bring those conversations to the forefront. And as I learn things, because I'm not the smartest guy in the room, as I learn things, other people can learn things too. And we're able to platform other patriot people that want to fight for America. That's what War Room is all about. So if you're watching this right now, and even if you've shared it, the broadcast already, go ahead and hit that share button just one more time for us so we can maximize the exposure for our guest here, Chris Mora, who's running for U.S. Congress. So we kind of went through the John Birch Society. In fact, that's a constitutional organization. They have scorecards that kind of weighs the person's voting with respect to the Constitution. If they don't vote for things that are very pro-Constitution, their score is lower. And if they do, it's higher. It's just kind of that simple, guys. So Chris is a part of the organization. He's expressed how he used to bring people from the organization to speak when he was a GOP chair, which I think is outstanding because it just expands the knowledge of the American patriot to where we know our rights are, we can fight for them. All right, so I want to get into this, and we'll kind of power through this because I got a number of questions. I want to give you an opportunity too, as well, Chris, to just have the floor, talk about, say anything that you want to as well. So I want to start out with letting people know where you're from and what made you first interested in politics.
Well, I've actually been here in Georgia for about 30 years. You know, I grew up in a family that my father was, being Latino, was a little different because he was always a Republican. You know, he came to this country years and years ago, the correct way, but always taught us that, you know, we always spoke English at the house. He was very proud to be an American. He worked really hard to give myself and my siblings everything that he could. And he was a banker. And being a banker, it was important to keep your money. And he understood that. And I think that's primarily why he was a Republican. He understood that. But, you know, it's kind of a shame because as I've been going out and talking with different groups and whatnot, I think some of the things kind of have gotten lost through generations. And I actually spoke to this last night. I was in Big Canoe last night talking with a group of folks. And we were trying to see kind of where the breakdown was, you know, in terms of the generations, the baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Z.
Basically what happened here.
No, yeah, exactly. What happened? How did we get here?
Yeah.
And how do we fix it? You know, how do we get boys to become men and step up, to teach them how to take care of their family, how to take care of their children, you know, teach them a work ethic. And it was a really interesting conversation. Like I said, I think that there's a lot of people that have a lot of ideas, but that stuff has really gotten lost. And again, I'm in a really conservative part of Georgia. I mean, the county I was speaking in last night was about 84% Republican. But it's a problem. One thing I found, we have a lot of problems, and we have to start addressing them instead of just talking about them. I mean, it's good that we're finally talking about a lot of these problems, but we really have to start addressing them and trying to knock them out one by one, because it is going to affect future generations. I want to make sure, that, again, some of our young people that, and I'm not that old, but, but so
let's talk about it, Chris. What are give us a couple of some of the top concerns people have? And I know this might kind of dip into, your campaign and platform and your service, what you're expecting to do. What are some of the top things that you're hearing, concerns from American citizens, Georgians?
One thing definitely is being a big concern, mostly in because Cobb and Cherokee are both in the 11th congressional district. One is the immigration. And they're concerned because crime is up. They're concerned because the gangs have been moving in. Spoke with the sheriff even last week down in Cherokee. He's saying it's becoming a real problem. The folks, the apartment complexes are flooded with people that clearly, and again, I have no problem with people coming here legally. But if you break the law and come here, I'm sorry, you've got to go. I think we have never really addressed it along the years. And I remember even in the 80s, again, like I said, my father came here legally. He was angry. He was angry in the 80s when Reagan gave amnesty. And that was being floated around when Biden was in office.
Well, tell us why he became angry.
He was angry because, again, it took him years to become a citizen. It took him years to learn the language, support himself. They didn't have handouts back then. And, for someone that worked really hard to become a citizen and be a proud citizen, yeah, it made him angry. But here's the thing. I meet a lot of folks that have come to this country like him that are just as angry now. They don't like what's going on. And I think it's kind of funny because I think the Dems pander or pander to these people, but not realizing that these folks that have come here generations ago, they're not welcoming.
Right.
In fact, it's crazy because, again, they worked really hard to become a citizen.
Yeah.
They didn't have their applications in 30 different languages. You had to be able to read.
You got it. I was going to ask you that. Boy, you on it today.
Yeah,
so you got to be able to speak. You got to be able to understand the English language, and in order to do that, you got to speak it. Yep. So that should be a minimum requirement. I had that as a question. Should the person that wants to immigrate here be able to speak English? And should they have to pass a basic civics course?
Absolutely. Why not? But here's the sad thing. Our children aren't even doing that anymore in school.
Yeah.
From what I hear, I remember sitting through those classes. We had to learn the Constitution. That was just part of school.
Yeah.
But they don't do that anymore.
All right, so let's do this. Let's switch gears because I got questions, and I want to give you the floor to just kind of talk about your campaign and, why you're doing it or whatever you want to say as far as that. And then we'll get back and just kind of power through the questions because, if we run out of time on that, because we got about 19 minutes left, I would say 18 minutes left. So I want to make sure that you get to talk about your campaign and everything, and then we'll go back to the questions. So the floor is yours, Chris Moore.
Now, watching, especially the last 5 years as the chair in Pickens and having politicians come and speak, I'm used to having them stand up for 20 minutes and talk about issues, but no real solutions or no of what they're going to do for their constituents. And I thought that was really important. That was one of the things that I wanted to make sure I got out there, that, some of the things that I can promise my constituents, if they choose to elect me to represent them, is that, a couple things like there'd be three things that I would look at anytime I'd be voting on a bill. One, is it constitutional? Two, can we afford it? And three, do we really need it? And if I can't answer yes to all three, then I won't be, that'll be a no vote on me for that bill. I also want to make a promise that, quite honestly, I like what some of the other congressmen, like Andrew Clyde, does. He explains every week why he voted the way he did. I fully intend on explaining why. Why? What has come up? Because again, I think some of the things that we miss out. I think we miss out on, there might be something underlying in that bill that they're not telling you in the media. And if you only ask them a question, they'll tell you. And I remember there was a bill last year that people were really angry. Couldn't believe Andrew Clyde wouldn't vote for this, that, and the other.
I remember, but I don't remember the bill.
It was the work requirement. He was like, we have a chance. We have a chance to have a work requirement to be getting benefits, but yet we're going to miss another opportunity to do so. So he's like, yeah, I voted no initially because here's our chance. So again, it's asking and explaining. So that's another thing. And the third main thing is I'm there to represent the 11th congressional district. I'm not up there for the cocktail circuit up in DC. I know, and trust me, in terms of meeting and talking with other congressional representatives, the lobbyists and the NGOs, the reason our representatives aren't listening to us is because they're owned by the NGOs and the lobbyists. That's why they don't answer questions. That's why when you go hear them speak, they speak for 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, then they give you 5 minutes, then they're out the door because they can't answer those questions. Because you'd find out that the reason they vote the way they do is because of the lobbyists and NGOs.
Right.
So I know this going in. Everyone always says, well, what's going to make it different? I think there was a lot of good people that probably went in with the right intentions and then got caught up in it. And again, once you get caught up in it, you're not getting out. So knowing this going in and stopping it from the very beginning, I think it's the only way you can do it.
Yeah, it is. That was an interesting interview with Glenn Beck where he talked about it. And he just said it. He said, just what you just said, go on great intentions, so forth and so on. And it's like, what happened? Did somebody ask Glenn Beck? He said, hey, they sold their soul. You know, you have to know why you're there. First of all, the people endorse the candidate to go in. So we allow them to go into the game. Then it's like all of a sudden it's like quarterback's not listening to the coach. But see, I think that, and I always use because I'm a football guy. So I always use the cheerleader and the coach as an example and say, hey, some of these legislators, they view us as like a group of cheerleaders. That's not our responsibility as constituency. We have to put the pom-poms down, Chris, and put on a coach's hat and get a whistle in our hands and understand that, hey, in the grand scheme of things, we're supposed to be calling the plays, and that representative is there to represent us and to be an officer of the Constitution. Of the Constitution.
We need to start getting, stop letting people be lazy. Now, this is what I mean by this. As we were talking the other night, I was saying, how many times do we sit in meetings and our state, federal representatives come, they speak, we all clap when they're done, but no one asks them any serious questions. Or knowing that there was a big vote and they let them off and just walk out the door. We can't do that anymore. And it's okay to ask questions. We need to let them know we're gonna ask questions. There is, I saw it even in our own district, our own representative. The last time he was in our county to actually face the Republicans that had questions was 2.5 years ago, and hasn't been back since.
Yeah,
because two of his constituents were trying to ask him a question, wouldn't answer it.
Well, that gets seen like as a rabble rouser, which is dovetail to a question I may have. So, I love the three branches of government. Think the founders were brilliant in how they did that. Balance of power, because I mean, just in all honesty, any one of those three can get something wrong, right?
Sure.
So,
it'd be a check and balance.
A check and balance. So in your capacity, when you go in, when you get elected, let's say for instance, maybe the president's got something wrong, or the judiciary, or a fellow congressman has something wrong. You know, will you stand up and be vocal, you know, in your capacity to try to make sure that the
We have to be vocal, and I hope we've got some people. I know we've got people running all over the state, new people, not people that have been sitting in the House for 10 years, not people that, you know, brand new people. And I hope they come out not afraid to speak up when they see something wrong. We have to, because what's going on in DC doesn't make any sense to me. Zero.
Yeah.
They know they're doing wrong. And as long as we continue to let them get away with it, I want to call it out, because I think that's the only way we're going to start to fix it. But I mean, you even know on X, right? Even on X, I watch the stuff every day. There's only 2 or 3 that really do it anymore. Everyone's scared to really come out.
Everyone.
I mean, not the typical, some of the craziness. I'm talking like, hey, this bill's being presented. Do you know this is hidden in this bill? That's the stuff we need to start talking about.
Right. I agree 100%. So speaking of that, so I would say this: the president has done some great things, closing the border, working to make sure that DEI is not a thing anymore, and firing people that maybe are anti-American and just not doing their job the right way when it comes to the Constitution. So if you had a chance to sit down with the president, or if you was talking to him right now, what would you say as far as some things that we can do to help get the football down the field for freedom and make sure that we have prosperity and that we maintain our sovereignty?
Well, the first thing I'd probably talk to President Trump about is who's advising him in the state of Georgia. I don't understand some of these folks.
Well, hey, go ahead and say it. What's your concern? Let us know, because I have
some of these folks that endorsements have come down, and I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, and it's like, man, I would love 10 minutes to let him know what's really going on here. I would love to let him know what his supporters, what his true MAGA supporters feel with some of these endorsements, because I don't understand them. I really don't. But there's also, and I'm sure you would even attest to this, sometimes our president does things that we don't quite know why he did them, but only to find out later why he did them. So like I said, it would be a question I would love to ask, because again, there might be a reason.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that very quickly, that, again, that's why it's important to have these conversations, because there could be a hidden reason of why he's maybe endorsing certain people over others. I mean, I would love to make sure that we have Andrew Clyde still in the 9th district. I would love to work with Andrew. I think we could have 3 really strong congressmen in North Georgia that we could all work together.
Yeah.
That we could all, quite honestly, and again, the other problem I have found and noticed, they're not all talking with each other. I know they're in DC with each other, but they're not having the real conversations. Why are we not working on bills together? Why has no one said, hey, Andrew Clyde, I know you're a veteran. Let's go in together on this bill. Let's work on this for our constituents in North Georgia. Or forget Georgia in general.
I just wonder if more time is spent meeting with those donors rather than this was my complaint, Chris, and I know this state politics now with the state of Georgia, because we saw a number of things we didn't agree with, and it was like, okay, you guys are the House, you're the Senate. If you don't like what leadership is doing, build out a block and force a negotiation to the table that's pro-Constitution, something that you would unabashedly be able to go to the podium and say, hey, look, we've tried several times, we're not being successful, so me and my colleagues here believe that we should pass the SAVE Act, or when it comes to Georgia, or we should get rid of the election machines. So until we can get the governor to come to the table, we want to let the speaker know, hey, look, you're not going to have enough votes to pass the bills that you're going. This is how it's supposed to work, right? It's supposed to, the founders gave us 3 levels of different negotiation plus a plethora of other mechanisms to make sure that freedom wins.
Antonio, you've been to the Capitol here plenty of times, because I see you broadcast from the Capitol. It's amazing to me, and I think I know why they do it. You see lobbyists crawling all over that place. But guess what? They have no place to go during the day. So what do? They sit in our House and Senate members' offices all day long. All day. You're telling me that's they're not being influenced by having those folks sitting there all day? I mean, I understand. I think they're building out something, but for the last couple of years, every time I go there, there's a lobbyist in one of their offices. Always.
Yep. It's big.
Wrong. It's wrong.
It's big money. So, and feel free to jump in with whatever you want to, because we got about 7 minutes. I would say about 6 minutes left. So I wanted to ask, I got a few other questions. So election integrity,
Yes.
hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots, one-day voting. What's your view on that? Let's ditch the digital stuff and put the human.
Absolutely have to provide a valid ID, picture ID. Again, I still don't understand that even with the SAVE Act, the misnomers that the Dems are throwing out there. Oh, you're going to have to show up to, on election day with your passport. No, that's just to register to vote. And quite honestly, if you got to the polls, I'm sure you drove. You're going to have your driver's license with you. I'm sorry. I'd love to eliminate early voting. I'd love to make sure that there's no absentee voting unless you're ill or in the military. I want to see our voter rolls cleaned. I mean, this is something we've been talking about for years. And, it's funny with voter integrity. Again, I remember when the Washington Post came after me in 2022 when I was trying to get our ballots hand counted in the precinct, right? But I wanted, this was after the election, I wanted to reassure everybody, hey, we don't have a problem here in Pickens County.
Right.
Call me election denier.
Yeah.
So I can't wait with what happened in Fulton County. I'm waiting for the day to go, oh, I guess that guy wasn't that crazy, Mr. Election Denier. Again, I kind of wear it with a badge of honor right now.
Oh, yeah. If you call it an election denier, that's a box to check off.
I know. We know it. We have proof. And I don't understand with all the things that we actually know.
Yep.
Why the Dems? Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, that was the past.
Well, they wouldn't be able to get these policies locally done. They cheat. And my thing is they cheat in order to be able to steal. So things like Minnesota can happen or USAID, because once the funds get injected to the system, they still have to have an apparatus and mechanisms to be able to recover these funds and or to deliver them to the place that they want them to go. So let's go rapid fire right quick. All right. So AI data centers seem to be sweeping the nation. Natural resources seem to be up for grabs, increased power bills, water scarcity on the horizons. Give us a minute on data centers and where you are with that.
Data centers, I hate it. I do not like them at all. And look at where they're putting them. They're putting them in rural Georgia. I don't like it. It's taxing our system. Half the counties don't even have the resources to be able to handle that. I don't believe in the subsidies that are being handed out within the state. Doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I'm looking at the cost of just even the homeowners even in my district. I mean, luckily the county I live in doesn't even have a flowing body of water, so I don't have to worry about a data center popping up here. But what I'm seeing is it's coming into rural farmland. It's like I said, it's maxing out we don't have the resources for it. It's damaging the farmland that surrounds it. It's a bad idea all around. And yeah, that's not a good thing right now. Totally against that.
Got it. All right. And that's not to say that we don't like any data centers, but we don't want to compromise the quality of life of people and then their natural resources so they can live over there. That's most people's.
I mean, look, I'm in telecom, right? Mm-hmm. I know if I'm going to go into a certain city or move into a certain city, I'm going to a telecom hotel. That's what they call them, right? Usually in a metro city, They're loaded up with every provider known to mankind. But now we're moving this all the way out into a rural area. It just doesn't make sense.
Got it. All right. One more question. PFAS. I noticed it may or may not affect the district you're in. I don't know. This is Northwest Georgia. Might affect your district. PFAS, glyphosate liabilities for and heavy-handed liability protections for corporations. Give me 45 seconds on it.
Are you talking about the poison that is being allowed to be sprayed, but yet we can't sue if our family members get cancer and die from this stuff? This is horrible stuff. This is horrible stuff. And quite honestly, you need to call out on your state and House and Senate members. It's disgusting. I don't like it at all.
All right, so I want to give you the last minute 45 seconds to talk to the people. Tell them why they should vote for you and where they support you at. Just anything that you want to say.
I just want to address the immigration because, like I said, it's been one of the biggest problems. You know, I've said that we need to have a moratorium on the last name. We need to stop anybody from coming in until we start fixing the problem. Like I said, we just kind of keep passing it along over the years, and we need to we need to fix the system before we let anybody else in. Okay. Like I said, it's not that I'm against people from coming here, but we're going to do it the right way. And they're going to follow the law. If you don't want to follow the law, you don't belong here.
Got it.
And same goes for even these mayors and governors. If you're going to be a sanctuary city and you're going to fund all these illegals, I'm sorry, I'll take care of my veterans first. I'll take care of Americans first before we subsidize anybody that's not an American citizen.
Got it. Tell people how to follow you, your website and everything. 10 seconds.
Moreforgeorgia.com. Please, need your help, need volunteers, need some money. Please, grassroots, thank God for the grassroots. They're helping me big time. And thank you very much for having me on today.
All right, no problem. If we need to do it again, we'll do it again. Appreciate you hanging out with us today.
Thank you.
All right. All right, guys, there it is. Told you, action-packed show today. Make sure you follow each and every guest that we had on. If you believe in their platform, make sure that you support them. I didn't announce earlier that there's going to be a kickoff party for another person running, and this is for State House here in Georgia. Edwin Duncan is going to be at what's the location here? Do they have the location? Yes, 554 West Main Street, Beaufort, Georgia, the Artisan A Gathering Place. Next, hosting our final segment coming up is going to be the great Sheila Matthews with Able Child. So make sure you guys stick around, listen to her segment. She's going to be bringing some great information for you guys to find out why we need to stay on top of these SSRIs going to our kids.
Hey guys, Rich Geary here from Geary Farms. Here at Geary Farms, we believe in raising our beef the right way, naturally and sustainably. Our cattle roam freely on nutrition-rich pastures, enjoying a diet that's as pure as the land that they graze on. We treat our animals with care and respect, ensuring they live stress-free lives. It's our commitment to quality and transparency from our farm to your table. Thanks.
Accelerate Accelerate your business goals and brand presence on the World Wide Web by logging on to safewayhost.store to purchase domain names, web hosting, email hosting, SSL, and more. We have 24/7 customer service and support available to our clients. Get started today so you can achieve your business goals by increasing your web presence. Log on to safewayhost.store today. That's safewayhost.store.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you would like to make a contribution, the link is in the description.
Taking on the establishment head on. It's War Room Georgia with Antonio Jones.
Hi, I'm Sheila from Able Child. I'm filling in and co-hosting for the second half for Antonio Jones, and you are in the War Room in Georgia. I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself, my organization, and my journey so far, and see if it can help you. First of all, we want to thank Antonio Jones for having Able Child on today. And we really appreciate Georgia. We have members in Georgia. We have a push for legislation in Georgia. Georgia is on the front lines in a lot of different areas. So you guys are important. We work throughout the country, and we work on informed consent regarding psychiatric drugs. So that's Ritalin, that's children in public schools, that is all these antidepressants that are being marketed throughout the country to our children for things such as ADD, ADHD, and bipolar, and any other disorder you have been told that you have. And basically, our organization has been doing this for 25 years. We're going to be celebrating our 25-year anniversary in Florida with a big event on March 10th, and I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But I wanted to kind of tell you how I got into creating Able Child, and how I think it's so important for everybody to know about my organization and what we do and why we do it. And one thing I want to say, it crosses all boundaries. It's a human rights issue. So it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. This is about children. This is about safety. And this certainly is about your right and your to live on this planet drug-free, label-free, and get an education from this government that is taking your tax dollars. And where they're investing it is very scary. It's kind of been happening for the last 30 years. So I want to tell you, I have two boys, and I started my work in the state of Connecticut. And basically, my boys, at the time, my oldest son was 7, and I started getting all these notices from the school that he had a behavioral health problem or behavioral problem at 7. And so I know there's a lot of moms and dads out there that have heard this from their schools. And, the information I got was really slanted and dangerous. So basically, it told me my son had a chemical imbalance, and that, by using these drugs recommended by the school, that he would, do better and thrive. And so, I was made to feel really scared about the decision. And that I had no alternatives. And I know this is happening to you. I know it's happening to you because I know the work I've done for the last 30 years on this issue. And we're dealing with something like a stone wall here. So I know it's happening to you. So if you're listening today, I want you to go to my website, ablechild.org, and read about what we've done and what we're doing to prevent the drugging of children, not only in the public school system, but in foster care. So anyway, in Connecticut, I started to get like really upset about this meeting I was having. And the night before, God basically had me do something just, which I thought was ordinary. I put on the TV to kind of stop thinking about it. I didn't want to think about the meeting I was having with the school. And I saw another mom by the name of Patricia Weathers testifying before Congress, and she was saying she had put her son on Paxil and that she didn't recognize him any longer. And he basically attacked her. And then she drove by the parking lot, like the playground, and her son was like shuffling his feet and was not with the other children. And she no longer recognized her son. I identified with it. I really did. I identified with it because I was starting to go through the same process. And so I called Congress, I got her number, and we developed Able Child together. And it hasn't been an easy road, and for a lot of different reasons, because there's a lot of money invested in this. The lawmakers, they go into service with good intentions, but the lobbyists, you're out working, you're out raising your kids, and there's lobbyists sitting in each state house and on the federal government, basically paid to sit there and push different legislation. So without getting into all the nitty gritty of legislation and the work we've done, I am going to mention a couple of bills, but in Georgia right now, you have a pretty important case going on right now with a young kid that went to school and shot up his school. And his father's on trial. The boy made a plea deal, and so he's not going to go on trial, which is very interesting. How Able Child got into these mass shootings from dealing with my own son and the schools was we started to find out that these children that were committing these mass killings, like in Sandy Hook, were actually on a cocktail of psychiatric drugs that have never been approved for use in children. So these drugs, they carry black box suicide warnings. That means increased risk of suicide, taking your own life, and homicidal ideation, which means taking other people's lives. And so we stumbled into a parent of ours that we had helped lived in Sandy Hook. And so that was our first mass shootings that we worked on. We tried so hard to tell our lawmakers about these drugs and how Adam Lanza could have been on one of these drugs because there were multiple other mass shootings and all those mass shooters were on these psych drugs. So we hit a stone wall again. The lawmakers did not want to hear our voices and they would not listen to us. What they did do was take gun rights away. And so what they did was in the state of Connecticut, they basically set up these hearings where it was gun violence roundtables. Okay, we didn't know. They aimed everything at these guns, but and they eventually put Remington Steel gun manufacturers out of business in the state of Connecticut. But they never focused on the psychiatric drugs that Adam Lanza was on, which he was on a cocktail out of them. And we went through all his records and we were fighting with the Hartford Courant on the facts that they were presenting to the public. So the media, unfortunately, is in on this because they get funding from the drug companies to advertise these psychiatric drugs to you, to your family. And the entire system is set up to get more and more children on these psychiatric drugs. And that is by lobbyists. They go down there and they say, there's another shooting. There's not enough psychiatric drugs. There's not enough. We have a mental health crisis. We need more drugs. We need more psychologists. We need more. And we need to take the guns away. And so this is not good for our country because it's taking our liberties away, and the psychiatric industry and the drug industries are walking away scot-free. It took us a year to get the name of the treating psychiatrist of Adam Lanza. And it was painstaking. We worked every day writing articles, going up to the Capitol, testifying. And I have to tell you, we were up against a lot of people on the other side who were taking and stripping gun rights away. And guns are manufactured to kill. Psychiatric drugs are not manufactured to kill. They're telling us that these drugs are safe and effective, and they're just not. There's a black box suicide label on these drugs. So, I wanted to kind of go over some questions because I know you can't call in today, but some common questions that people ask able child, like, I'll give you, for instance, when we speak out a lot, we get attacked for being associated with the Church of Scientology. So I want to say that Patty and I are not members of any church. We work with everybody. We work with Republicans and Democrats, and we've had to combat that. We believe in the freedom of religion, and there's nothing wrong with being a Scientologist. We love the work their organization is doing. But I want to put that out there because we do get that a lot, backstabbing. And, that's how it is with Democrats and Republicans. They fight with each other and we lose. Our children lose. So I wanted to put that out there that I actually, when I went down to DC to testify on the psychiatric drug bill, the Child Medication Safety Act, which passed, and that bill was a landmark bill that basically says that a school can't kick your child out if your child refuses to take these psychiatric drugs. Could you imagine? We have to do that in today's world. We have to say, we don't want you to force our child onto a psychiatric drug based on characteristics off of a checklist that you deem is some kind of science. It isn't. There's no blood tests. There's no brain scans. So the checklist basically says, oh, does your child get up out of the chair, is easily distracted? That's not science, okay? That's a survey. So I didn't know that when I was faced with the pressure of the school. So when I went down to DC, I actually brought a letter from my church. At the time, I met with Bishop Lori from the Catholic Church, and he basically put a letter of support together for me because when we would go down there, people would start to whisper and say, here come the Scientologist, and how awful that is for anybody to be discriminated against based on being a Scientologist or a Catholic or anything, religion really is being used in today's world in ways that is separating us. So, and we're not going to get into that right here. I just wanted to make it clear that we work on behalf of the child. We work on informed consent regarding psychiatric drugs. So if you're a Democrat and you have had a child that's suffering from this, or you're a Republican and we don't care. We don't care who you support. What we care is what the government is doing to us. And basically, the way it is the government has these committees set up in each state, these behavioral health providers, and they get all your data and they push out all this marketing to get to you if you're on Medicaid or anything like that. They want your Medicaid numbers. So in any case, that is really important for you to know that we work and support everybody. We just want school shootings to stop, and we believe that if we collect the right data in the process, like if the killer is shot and we pull his blood and we get his autopsy results and he's on therapeutic levels of any psychiatric drug, that is a factor which the state and federal government should look at. So that is really important for you to know about our work in Tennessee. It took us 2 years to pass this bill in Tennessee, and it was really hard work because we were up against the drug lobby, and actually the TBI, which is the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. And and that is really the FBI. They don't want us to inform you. They don't want the data to go out to the public that these drugs are inducing suicide, inducing mass violence, and they don't want to look at it. And how you can help with that is you can get on our website and fill out our petition, ablechild.org, and we're trying to get federal hearings. I have documents from literally the 1970s warning to parents, have your child been put on drugs? Experts say these drugs can cause eye damage, brain damage, heart abnormalities. Is your child learning disabled? There was a parent in the 1970s, I know you can't see this, but that was speaking out against the wrongful labeling of children. And so if we could get some federal hearings, that would be great. And your lawmakers, I know they listen to Antonio and the War Room here in Georgia. And we're pushing to get legislation regarding basically an exit plan for families who have been told to place their kids on psychiatric drugs and literally have no way off these drugs. Okay, they have no way off these drugs. So we have a bill right now in Georgia. You can call and say we're interested in supporting the Able Child exit plan bill. It's so important. We're struggling to get a sponsor. Why is that? Why do our lawmakers refuse to look at the link between psychiatric drugs and mass shootings and mass violence? You have to ask yourself like that. So getting back quickly to the case in Georgia with, I think his name is Cole Gray. Again, the boy, we don't know what his records are, okay? We don't have access to the records. Was he drugged before he picked up that gun, before he went off to shoot the children at school? Wouldn't you want to know? Because we can't go to movie theaters anymore. Our children aren't safe in the schools. So these records are a matter of public safety. And what we're hitting the wall on is HIPAA. They keep telling us that HIPAA is blocking us getting access to these records. Well, HIPAA was never designed to protect the psychiatrist or the drug industry, so they can't stand behind that. And we really want a voice on this. So how you can help is signing our petition to get us federal hearings. And then the father now is on trial, and he basically is being charged with murder. Well, his attorney said the other day, I caught a little bit of his opening statement. He said, well, this little kid fooled his counselor. Well, how do we know that without looking at the actual documents? Because another thing that I've noticed about these mass shootings, and I've worked on numerous ones over the last 25 years, like Nicholas Cruz in Parkland, is that the public defender's office actually works for the state. Yes, you can't afford an attorney, but they are in bed with the state. And so they don't want to expose the Department of Children and Family Services or these behavioral providers in these trials. And we face that with the Nicholas Cruz trial in Florida. And here's the thing why it's important, because at the end of the day, in the Nicholas Cruz trial, what happened was the parents so upset, they try to push all this legislation for more gun control and more mental health spending. And actually, the governor of Florida, DeSantis, overturned a 12-jury member to commit you to death. And we all want justice, but I don't think it is changing the makeup of a jury to give you the death penalty when there's mitigating circumstances such as the psychiatric industry putting these children on cocktails of drugs. In order for us to combat this situation, if you're out there and you're listening to me, I want to tell you this is a state and federal a coordinated action with the behavioral health and drug companies while we're busy at school and at work. And we need to stick together, whether we're Democrats or Republicans, for reform, or we're never going to get there. If we keep blaming each other and blaming the guns, it's not going to solve this psychiatric crisis, which is happening across the country, So I know I've been talking a great deal, but I want to thank the War Room in Georgia because, it's really brave to have the able child on. We have been told by Google that we are dangerous and we are derogatory. And our articles that you can find on ablechild.org are suppressed. We often post on joehoff.com and the Gateway Pundit. But our documents don't serve them to post. They're kind enough to do it, but sometimes they don't get monetary financial gains. And that's what usually, platforms want to do because our articles are suppressed. We are being suppressed. Able Child is being suppressed by Google, and Google doesn't have the guts to come to us. And all of you, we can't call 1-800-Google and get somebody on the line. You know how it works. You all know how it works out there. So if you guys are listening to me, we are a grassroots parent organization. We do not take any money from the state and federal government. We take no grants from the state and federal government. We are funded by parents across the country. So getting to some maybe other questions people ask. They say, Sheila, able child, are you saying that no child needs these psychiatric drugs? No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that we want the right to refuse psychiatric drugs and programs that are within our school system. So, the whole federal position on programs in the school, if you don't know it, is opt out. Okay, so your child could come home with a paper and never give it to you, and you're in that program. Okay, that's the opt-out option, which is protected by federal law. We want to change that. We want to get to an opt-in. Let these programs fail if nobody joins them because they're crappy programs, okay? Let's get an opt-in position by our lawmakers and then let the dollars flow to where the successful programs are. One of the things I do want to say is if your child has been diagnosed with any of these psychiatric labels, I want you to know there's no blood test. Ask for a blood test. Say, I want you to pinpoint to me where I have this ADHD in my child's body or this bipolar. It's all subjective. So if your child is being told that you have a psychiatric, label, what I would ask is, I would really try to secure what reading level and IQ is your child at, because I don't say it enough. Able Child has been named after President Eisenhower's Able Child, and we do so because it's for the gifted and creative child. Our children and boys mainly have been told that they have this psychiatric disorder. In fact, they're gifted and creative, but there's no money behind that. It's all going to the mental health industry, thanks to our lawmakers from both Democrats and Republicans. So I really want to, in the last few minutes I want to tell you that we are honored to work for the American people. We are honored to work with both Democrats and Republicans, and we are here to fight for children. We are your union. There's no dues and there's no fees. And if you're a member of Able Child, it's because you say you are. And what that means is that you can say, I refuse to place my child on psychiatric drugs, and you can call our organization and we will do everything possible to support you with any information to give your teachers. We have a great letter on our website site called the Hatch Amendments, and we have a search bar. You can search everything there. But I'm a mother just like you, and fathers. We have volunteers that come in all the time to help us, and they're going through hell too. And then if you're going through a divorce, believe me, you've been there. And they want your child evaluated, and then we didn't even touch on the foster care kids, which is close and dear to my heart. Able Child's been kicked off behavioral health oversight committees for pointing out the cocktails of drugs that these foster care kids are on, because guess who parents the foster care kids? The lawmakers. They don't have parents. They don't have your informed consent that we're desperately trying to fight for you to keep. And so that's a lot about Able Child. We're going to be celebrating our 25th anniversary, label and drug free. Your child can be that. And I know that there's a lot of parents that are disconnected from their children. And there's no greater pain than not communicating with your children. And there are support groups for that. Alienation against children. Parents are being alienated. There's no greater pain. And believe me, I felt it myself. Everything I say is out of experience, and so you're not alone. And there's a lot of young children in prison wrongfully there because they were placed on these psychiatric drugs and they committed these acts, but they were never identified as being part of a clinical trial or so if your child is in prison, your child should be able to learn in prison as well, learn how to read and write and find the Lord, our Jesus Christ Savior. And I don't go to any church. I belong to a Bible study of a small group of women. And I truly believe Christ has led me to this. And, if you have any questions, please, I get back to people pretty quick. It's ablechild.org. Our event can be found at ablechild25.com. And lawmakers, I know you watch this show, and you know what? We're not going to shut up. We're not going to sit down, and we're not going to go away, because our children are the assets of this country. All of us who are growing old, we're dust in the wind, but we have to stay together to protect our children no matter where you come from. If you're a United States citizen, we're here to help, and we want you to be safe, and we want you to learn how to read and write and not be weighed down with this psychiatric pressure that our government has heavily invested in. It's a $1 billion industry. So in closing, I want to say, if you're separated from your child forever, for any reason, God is there for you. Able Child's here for you. We just want to be of service. And we pray for our children, for their safety in the foster care system, where they are just so lost and they have nobody, and except for a clinical team that is giving them cocktails of psychiatric drugs. And we pray for our children that age out and end up on the street homeless. And this is all because of the psychiatric industry. They are the blind party that we cannot see. So it's time to hold them accountable. Thank you so much. And thank the War Room. I didn't think I could fill this time, but again, War Room in Georgia, thank you. And Antonio Jones, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to your listeners. And if you want to donate to us, we have the ability there as well. But it's more information I want to get out to your audience. So thank you so much, and God bless you. And Georgia lawmakers, you should be reaching out to me, because I'm willing to fly there and work on legislation to protect these children. So do your job and call us. We really appreciate you.
Greetings, Georgia Patriots. We are pleased to announce that we have a brand new website just for you. On our website, which you can get to at warroomga.com, has several different links, so let's go through a few of them. One of the most important ones is the news link. So you can find news that's local to the state of Georgia, and you can find national news. But the great thing about our state news is you can find information by some of the great Substack writers all on one page. and it's all in sequential order. So whomever has written the last or the latest article, you'll see it right there in order. As far as the national news, we aggregated quite a few Patriot national news organizations so that you can find that information right there on one page. So say if you're having your coffee for the morning and you just want to click and see what's going on and find out what the buzz is and what you want to share for the day and or read, it's all right there on one page. So we're trying to make this thing as convenient as we can so that we can get the information out. Another great link on the website is our videos link. If we're broadcasting live, of course you can catch us on all the major social media platforms. That's X, Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. And now you can just come to War Room GA and click on live broadcast, or you can click on our video section and you can see any of the previous lives that we've done, or if we're currently live, you'll see us live right there on the website. Here's another one. We have a events tab. You can get your event hosted and published and posted on our website, and if it's a paid event, we definitely can beat the prices of Eventbrite and give you a similar professional experience and service for your patrons, which will save them money as well as you. Don't forget to support our show. We have a contribution link. We will also be opening up a store link where you can buy things and support the show that way. We appreciate any support that we can get. This is crowdsourced and crowdfunded, and this is for all of us. This is for you, the patriots of Georgia, and the people in this great nation of the United States of America.